You're probably not going to believe me when I say this, but Hades 2, in its current early access state, has more content in it than Hades 1 did at final launch. And that's ridiculous. And it's true. I have not completed a run yet in Hades 2. I want to preface that. I've put in a really good amount of time into the game so far, just exploring, trying different builds, and seeing what the game has to offer. And when I say that it's literally double the content or more, I mean that very literally. Hades 2 is going to be a massive game at full 1.0 release, which could be a lot sooner than I think people realize. Much as other podcasters and gaming channels have talked about, like Castle Super Beast, for example, Hades 2's skeleton, its base of what the game is pretty much done. You can play the game. You can reach the end. It's just missing key little things here and there. Artwork, different character models, maybe everything isn't as balanced or as crisp as we would like it to be yet, but that's what early access is for. Now, how do I feel about Hades 2 overall in a sense of not early access, but story, plot, and everything it's going for? I think it's fantastic. It's very different than Hades 1, though. It takes its story a lot more seriously. It takes itself more seriously. Sure, there's still lots of tongue-in-cheek moments that are very fun, but overall, I would say it's a darker, more serious take on the idea of what the original was going for. Some of that could be due to its witchcraft aesthetic and its unique way of trying to tell that sort of supernatural story, but I also think it still manages to grasp what makes Hades awesome, and still keep that beautiful art style that the original had. There's still no roguelike like Hades. It truly is godlike. Now, I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers for Hades 2, but I am going to be talking about the beginning few hours in order to kind of give a rough introduction to what the game is doing and has going on for it. So if you really want to go in fully blind, please dip out for now, and just know that the game is very, very good. Now, jumping into the opening of the game, I'm still tossed in the air on what the truth is about the fate of Hades, Persephone, and Zagreus. The game has been a little flip-floppy on what it's trying to say, which I think is intentional, on whether or not they are trapped and need to escape from somewhere, or they are straight up dead altogether. The opening moments of the game, during your first run and everything, introduces the fact that Melanie, Zagreus' younger sister and the new daughter of Hades and Persephone, is what we believe to be the surviving member of their family. And now she is trying to get revenge against the Titan Kronos, who apparently killed her family. And she wants nothing more than to avenge them and use Kronos' time powers to bring them back. Now, interestingly enough, Hades 2, because of this prompt, tends to take itself, as I said earlier in the video, a lot more seriously, because this time around it has a real story that it wants to achieve. And this story will creep its way into your runs more so than it did in the original. The original was more so every run and every story beat you took pushed the plot forward. You got more dialogue, you got more information, lore, but overall, the story was still the same of Hades 1. Spoilers for Hades 1 real quick, but the whole goal is to break out of Hades as many times as you can, defeat Hades, and then meet with Persephone and try and get your family back together after your parents being separated, as Zagreus. This time around, it's definitely going for more of a, this plot point leads into this, Kronos is doing this, we need to stop him. Maybe you have to go to other places than just down to the underworld, and you have to try and hit all these different beats, and Kronos is messing with you the entire time. He's interfering with your runs. He's doing all these neat little things that pushes the story forward in a more narrative-driven way than I would say the original was, where you kind of just interacted and got story from the world. The world is actively throwing story at you this time. And I think some people may not like that change, as it makes it more lore-intensive, and you feel like you have to pay more attention than you did in the original. But that being said, as somebody who's a huge fan of narrative stories and games, I love it. I'm glad they've leaned into it more, and it's masterfully done, just as it was in the original. I think Hades 2 has potential to be even better than Hades 1, which is really saying something considering how much of a masterpiece Hades 1 is. But I really need to get later into the game to tell. Right now, it has a lot of new, interesting mechanics, different, how will I say, obviously different gods and new boons, because we saw that in the trailers, but there's a few twists and turns, such as having mana now, and there's, without getting into specific spoilers, there's kind of like trials and stuff you can do now to get certain rewards, kind of like diving in with certain builds. And being able to do that is a really unique way to kind of learn how certain weapons work, while also getting rewards that will help you on your normal runs. There's a lot going on, and I feel like I still haven't seen everything. Every time I think, alright, I've probably reached the main portion of what's happening, something new is thrown right at me. And I can't wait to see how the game twists and turns itself as more and more runs are completed. Like I said, I haven't fully completed a run yet. I've gotten close, without giving away spoilers to everything I've seen. I've gotten close, but I've never actually defeated the final boss and seen what is past, like the original Hades. When you get past Hades, what is out there, what is, you know, pushing the story forward, what is encouraging you to keep going like it did in the original. I hope that they can grasp that motivation that the original game gives, because it really is awesome when you're playing the original game, when you finally get out and see Persephone and you're like, oh my gosh, this gives me such motivation to keep going. I really hope that they can instill the player with that again, because I feel like that will really be the key to whether or not this game stands the test of time, especially against its predecessor. Well, that's all I really got to say for a first impression of Hades 2. I think it's fantastic. I really think, despite early access, it's worth investing into. It's kind of neat to play the game in a sense where the game itself is done and enjoyable, but maybe you run into a character and they don't have a model, or they have like a placeholder sketch that still has measurements and stuff on it. It's almost like getting to have a little bit of like a peer into what's going on, like getting to see a movie before it's fully done. It's really cool. It's a unique perspective, and the game itself, in its current state, is phenomenal, genuinely. So I definitely recommend, if you have any interest in this, first of all, play Hades 1, and then definitely check out Hades 2. I'm super excited to see where Supergiant is going with everything, and the godlike roguelike is back, and death to Kronos. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know if you like Hades 2 or what you don't like about Hades 2. All discussion is welcome. Catch you all in the next video. So much love on this. Thank you so much for the channel support, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!